All right, here we go. Coming up on the show, 49ers winners and losers after preseason game number 1 against the Denver Broncos at Levi Stadium. This is the 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Thanks for hanging out here with me, and I hope everybody out there has had a phenomenal weekend. Let's talk some Niners here. Really pumped up to recap everything that transpired last night. We did a watch party on the channel. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. We did an instant reaction post-game show, and as I've let things marinate throughout the day here on Sunday, and I've gone back and I've watched the tape, we're going to get into my winners and losers, who looked good, who did not look good throughout the program here today. And I like taking a little while to do this video after the game because the PFF numbers come out. You can do some film study. I think context is always important. You can go back and rewatch things a couple of times, sometimes not always just watching the football, watching developments away from the ball. And I think that allows me to provide the best analysis from what I'm seeing with my eyes to then form my opinions and my thoughts on what these players did. And I do think it's important to remember, and it's important for fans to not lose sight of the fact that even though the Niners did lose this game 30-9, and for a majority of it, it was very ugly. And if you tuned in and didn't see the start and you missed what happened the first couple of drives, and then you did watch what happened after the Niners had gone up 9-0 and then gave up 30 unanswered points, you would say that was a disaster. That was ugly. A majority of this game was ugly. But what did I just say? And it's a line that I like to pass along here on the show because it does help me in this broadcasting space. Context is very important. And even though the Niners gave up 30 unanswered points, they lost this game 30-9. What happened early? The Niners backups, offensively and defensively, both sides of the ball here, played very well for a couple of drives against the Denver Broncos starters. Do I have depth concerns for this football team? For sure. This is one of the thinner teams of the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan era when they've been looked at as a playoff level team. So non-rebuilding years. But some of the Niners twos and even some of the threes did perform well against the Broncos starters. And remember, once the Niners are able to start their lineup of starters with those players who played well against the Broncos starters as backups, that could help to fortify some of the depth issues on this team. And so let's begin with my winners against Denver. I'm going to begin with Mac Jones. First drive, few plays in, it's third and medium, and he launches a beautiful 50-yard pass to rookie wide receiver Jordan Watkins, who I'll talk about here in a second. And it was a great throw. It was great execution. It was what you want to see from a quarterback developmental standpoint, where you factor in down and distance, significance of that play, and then how Mac Jones was able to execute the play. And so Jones drops back, and I wouldn't say the pocket was really collapsing around him, but if you go back and watch closely, there was a defender who kind of fell and was falling toward Jones's feet and ankles. And it's human nature when you're about to throw a football or you're about to shoot a basketball and you see some traffic around your feet and your landing area, you might hesitate and you might move off of that spot. I thought Jones on that play really hung tough in the pocket and delivered a 50-yard strike in stride to a guy who runs 4-3, put it in a spot where he could catch it, and Jordan Watkins executed. He won his route. He came down with it, and he picked up yards after the catch, and fittingly enough, it was Talanoa Hufanga who had the touchdown-saving tackle, but that throw from Mac Jones was a great throw, and I know that he threw the pick a little bit later. The interception was not on him. Context very important. Now, I'll say this. When we were live for the watch party, I had said, I'm going to chart that as a bad Mac Jones throw. I thought he threw it low and inside, which you never want to do usually on a boundary ball on an out route. You want to throw high and away. But Kyle Shanahan said after the game, while Watkins was good, he had the 50-yarder, he ran a bad route there. And when you get lazy on the route as far as you're cut out of it, or you round it off a little bit, or the depth is wrong, that can then lead to an interception like we saw. And so I'm not really going to say Mac Jones deserves a lot of blame for that INT. And I just think that this backup quarterback situation, QB2, with Mac, it's better than it was last year with Joshua Dobbs and Brandon Allen, the latter of which, Brandon Allen, should have never, ever, ever started a game for the 49ers ahead of Joshua Dobbs. And while Dobbs has done some good things as a backup, I think Mac Jones is better. And I just think that with what he's done in training camp, the pedigree of what he did at Alabama, what we've seen at moments at the NFL level, he can be a really solid quarterback as a backup. And if he has to step in start in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Winner number 2, Jordan Watkins. You know, he has something to him. The 50-yard reception on the first drive of the game wasn't just a 50-yard catch. This is a guy who in the pre-draft process ran in the 4.3s, but he tracks the ball extremely well. It's like a center fielder who runs the 60-yard dash in a good time and is quick out there. If you can't track the ball, it's a problem. You might be able to be the fastest man alive. If you can't track the ball, you're not going to be able to corral it. Jordan Watkins can track the ball. Deep ball wide receivers. You can run with the best of them. You can run 4.2, 4.3. But do you have good route running? Do you have good footwork? Do you have good hands? Can you track the ball? Watkins can track the ball. And I do like the physicality to his game. You know, the one-on-one win that he had for a touchdown against the Broncos in joint practices on Thursday, I put that play on my Twitter page. It was the same kind of thing. He won with speed, but then toward the end of the route, he won with hand fighting in order to separate, to open up the window for him to catch that ball. And on that route last night, you saw some hand fighting. You saw him absorb some contact, come down with a contested 50-50 ball, and then pick up yards after the catch. And he has a strong lower body. He can pick up yak. I'd love to see him on some shallow and deep crosses where Kyle Shanahan can get him the ball in space. And if you have a 4-3 guy who can take the top off of the defense, wherever he lines up, there's going to be a safety who knows where number 17 is and is going to have to shade toward that side of the field. What does that then open up? Some real estate in the short and intermediate areas if you have a guy running vertical. Niners haven't had a guy like that in a while who's this like talented as an all-around speed wide receiver. And you combine Watkins with Ricky Pearsall, who runs 4.4, Jacob Cowing, who runs 4.4, Isaac Arendo, who runs 4.3. I did a show on this a few months ago. Like, this offense can be a lot faster than it's been in years past. Now, Jordan Watkins, he ran the bad route, which led to the Mac Jones pick. That's the learning curve he's going to have to get over as a rookie, and this is why this is important. He keeps doing stuff like that. He doesn't get the trust of the coach to put him out there because you can't afford to have back-breaking interceptions happen that are avoidable. Number 2, doesn't always have the trust of the quarterback. It's like, I want to throw it to him, but is he going to run the right route? Or are we going to get picked off here to stall momentum on a drive where we're marching down the field about the score? So has to get over that rookie wall in that regard. But, man, you like the juice. Junior Bergen, another winner. 28-yard punt return. He did have a drop as a wide receiver, but here's the thing. The 49ers didn't draft him to be a wide receiver. Kyle Shanahan said after the draft, they drafted him with their final pick in the 7th round as a return man solely. And look, when you do that, you got to figure out some other dominoes and chess pieces on your 53-man roster if you're keeping a return specialist who can't do anything else. And it kind of hurts you in other areas. But are you willing to live with that if a guy like Junior Bergen can make plays like he did last night? And this is his MO. This is his track record. So for those not familiar, he went to Montana. Brant Poyer's son, who is the special teams coordinator, Boyer's son plays at Montana. And so Boyer was familiar with Bergen. And at FCS, statistically, he was one of the most elite punt returners in the history of FCS football. He had 6 or 7 career touchdown punt returns in his career. And so that play that he made last night, where he catches the punt, makes a man miss, and the move was filthy, then reverse field and cut it up to pick up 28 yards, that was a nice play. It's been a long time since the Niners have had a punt return for a touchdown. I want to say it might be several years to close to a decade. But this is why the Niners drafted Junior Bergen, to make plays like that because of his return history. And you saw last night, that's a special skill at something that's very hard to do, especially when you have guys running 4.4 40s screaming downfield to pop you in the face. Junior Bergen to catch that punt, make a man miss, reverse field, and then have the speed to beat everybody and get the corner to turn it up for 28. That caught my eye. Chase Lucas, maybe the biggest winner of last night, honestly. Kyle Shanahan called him the 49ers energizer bunny. He was everywhere last night, and he certainly played like an energizer bunny. You could see it out there that his violence, speed, energy, and nastiness rallied up his teammates, and it was contagious. He had 32 coverage snaps last night, so he played a decent amount. Targeted 8 times, gave up 31 yards, no touchdowns, a pass breakup, 70.5 coverage grade, 80.7 passer rating when targeted. But here's the thing. Chase Lucas is a career special teamer. He's more of a slot guy. If he can emerge to be your backup slot guy, that's huge. And if Robert Saleh can continue to use him like he did last night, corner blitzes, delayed blitzes, one of his blitzes where he was lined up at the hybrid linebacker, it was on a delay. That's the play that forced Bo Nix to throw the ball away, which resulted in a Niner safety. If Robert Saleh can use him out of that slot spot where you can kind of move him around and he can cover guys out of the slot, but then be an occasional blitzer and be a disguise man, that's almost like a weapon on this Niners defense. And they're thin at corner. Diamador Lenore, Renardo Green on the outside, Upton Stout, the rookie, dealing with the calf injury right now, in the slot. But then that backup slot, can it be a guy like Chase Lucas who you can just use him as a rover who can play a few different plays around, a few different positions around the field? He had 3 pressures when he blitzed. And again, one of them led to the safety. And I think that he not only had the game of his life last night, but he, I think, earned himself a roster spot because he can do that on defense. And the former Detroit Lion can also impact the game on special teams. That's huge. And he's a good special teamer. Sebastian Valdez. Look, in June, I did a video. Did the 49ers find a hidden gem? The UDFA out of Washington, defensive tackle, who is very built. He's very ripped. With that, he is very strong, and he is explosive and violent at the line of scrimmage. And I saw some comments saying, you have no idea what you're talking about. There's no way he's going to be an undrafted free agent gem. He's making this team. 32 snaps last night, 4 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 pressure, a half sack, 3 stops. You saw a fast get-off. You saw violent hands. You saw him being able to slither between offensive linemen to make plays. You saw him push and collapse the pocket. You saw him be around the quarterback, be around ball carriers. You noticed him because he was blowing plays up. And Kyle Shanahan even acknowledged that as well. I'd say he flashed the most today, Shanahan said. You noticed him out there. He's been flashing a lot in practice, He's been a problem in one-on-ones, and it looked like he played the run real well today. When our line coach talks about him in practice, that means he's doing some stuff, and it was good to see it carry over to the game. It carried over to the game. And the Niners don't have a ton of depth at defensive tackle. Sebastian Valdez is a depth piece at defensive tackle. And you draft C.J. West, Alfred Collins. They're going to make this team. Kalia Davis, another one of my winners. He played very well last night. He looked really good. If he can stay healthy, you see what the Niners saw in him when they drafted him in the 6th round. He is explosive and stocky and disruptive at defensive tackle, all right? So those are 3 DTs who make the team. You know, Kevin Givens is out for a while, and so he's probably a PUP candidate. You do have Evan Anderson, who was good last year as a UDFA, who I think makes a team, but he's hurt right now. And so he would be the 4th defensive tackle. You have Jordan Elliott, who is more of a run-stopping defensive tackle. That's a 5th. Sebastian Valdez should be that 6th defensive tackle. And, you know, I'm not sure what the numbers game is going to be at defensive tackle. It could be 5. It could be 6. I would rather have Sebastian Valdez over a guy like Jordan Elliott. If you're going to go youth movement, go youth movement. If you're going to build your defense with all of these rookies, 5 of whom could have roles on this defense this year, maybe 6 with Marquis Siegel, why would you keep Elliott over Sebastian Valdez? Build this young core. Givens going on PUP opens up a roster spot, but one of those roster spots better go to Sebastian Valdez because he can continue to get better. The man who Dominic Pooney and other Niners call the Hulk. Last night he looked and played like the Hulk. Corey Kiner, a winner. And I've talked about this here on the show. The UDFA running back out of Cincinnati is really good with picking up yards after contact, and his contact balance is very impressive. And I've discussed these numbers here on the show, but to refresh your minds or to give you some great insight for people who don't know about these numbers, this is what Kiner did last year among backs who got drafted back in April. Missed forced tackles. It was Ashton Genty, number 1 at 125. Cam Scattaboo, 3rd-round pick. Corey Kiner, both with 82. And so he's number 2 behind a running back who went top 10 to the Raiders, number 7 overall, and Scattaboo, who went in the 3rd, and I would have loved that selection for the Niners. Elusive rating. Ashton Genty, number 1. Corey Kiner, number 2. PFF rush grade. Omarion Hampton, Devin Neal, R.J. Harvey, Corey Kiner at the tied for 5, 7, and 8 spots. Well, Kiner comes in at number 8. So it's Hampton and Neal at 5, R.J. Harvey 7, Corey Kiner at number 8. That's PFF rush grade. All right, and all of those backs, you know, were draft picks and highly touted in that draft class. Yards after contact per attempt. Number 4, Omarion Hampton, DJ Giddens, Corey Kiner. That's 4, 5, 6. So, like you saw last night, Kiner has NFL ability. Clear as day. Mentioned Kalia Davis. It was good to see him play well. Same can be said for Robert Beal. The Niners loved his get-off coming out of Georgia. Fast, get-off. They love that in this wide 9. Up until this point, the first couple of years of his career, he has done nothing. But he had a sack or a half sack last night where you saw it, and he was able to collapse the pocket, look good doing so. Bradley and I, who the Niners signed, I think Monday or Tuesday, was a former 5th-round pick by the Cowboys. Overlap with Robert Saleh with the Jets. Saleh thought that he had a chance to make the team, tore his ACL in OTAs. Played in the UFL in the spring, was one of the best defenders and the best edge rusher as far as productivity at getting after the quarterback in the UFL. He had some moves last night that were very like veteran pass rusher savvy moves. And so he deserves mention. As far as C.J. West, Alfred Collins, the rookie defensive tackles, Collins drafted in the 2nd round, C.J. West in the 4th. They combined for 32 pass rush snaps. They had 0 pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. But, again, as I always like to say, context is very important, right? And I thought that there were some plays there for both of them when they were able to disrupt the pocket and either collapse the pocket, which led to pressure on the quarterback, or moved the quarterback off his spot and disrupted the play. And while moving a quarterback off his spot and helping to collapse the pocket doesn't count on the stat sheets, it's a highly impactful play, and I would put it right alongside of pressure, honestly. Pressures are disruptors. So, too, were some plays that I saw from Alfred Collins and C.J. West. They look like NFL players. And in practice, they've certainly had their moments. West more so than Collins. But you see the ability there. Other players who caught my eye, Tatum Bethune was a 7th-round pick last year out of Florida State. I think that he's an NFL player at that middle linebacker spot. I think that he could be Fred Warner's backup. He can contribute on special teams. And then the UDFA linebacker Stone Blanton out of Mississippi State, the Niners gave him like somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 as a UDFA. That's like close to practice squad money. They did the same with Evan Anderson last year. And he's a very instinctual player who's always around the ball with good ball production. My Niners losers, Nick Martin. The 3rd-round pick linebacker had a rough night. Now, there are some positives. Boy, oh boy, does he play fast. My goodness, does he have wow play speed. Do you see him fly to the football? No doubt. And in that manner, reminds me of D. Winters early on, where, my gosh, blazing fast and trying to make a tackle. And when he connected, huge hit. And you're like, holy shit. Other times for D. Winters, when he couldn't harness that aggression, and we'll see if he can actually do that all the time this year, the aggression and the play speed causes you to over pursue and you miss tackles. So Nick Martin has the speed to get to the ball. That is for sure. But he didn't play with a lot of feel or a lot of instincts. He struggled to throttle down, and he missed multiple tackles on obvious plays. He is a little bit raw, and he has to harness being aggressive. I like linebackers who innately are aggressive. Great to build off of that. And yes, he did play 5 total games and 361 snaps in 2024 because of a knee injury. The year before that, he was excellent. Triple-digit tackles, double-digit TFLs, had some sacks, some PBUs, but he's not ready to play. And I thought that he would be more ready to play. After the draft, I had said, given what he did in 2023, man, he's got an opportunity to start for this Niners team. Can't put him out there because you can't trust him. He can get better, and there's obvious signs that he can improve off of what he did poorly, throttling down a little bit more. Maybe don't play as fast, slow down to make the tackle instead of over pursuing and missing it. But he's too raw right now, and that's unfortunate. Now you'll have D. Winters and Fred Warner as the top 2 backers. After that, Luke Gifford, he's been a career special teamer. Tatum Bethune, probably too slow to play strong side or weak side backer. Probably best as a backup middle. And Mike. Jalen Graham in the mix. Nick Martin's going to make the team, of course. But it'd be risky for you to put him out there. 2 missed tackles, 3 total tackles, 5 catches allowed, a passer rating when targeted of 147.2. Traits to be a solid linebacker, needs a lot of development and a lot of coaching. Carter Bradley, a loser. He was horrific. Oh, my goodness. That was a tough watch. Has a good arm, but telegraphs passes and doesn't throw with a lot of touch. It's like watching Trey Lance when he was a rookie, who Trey Lance, by the way, balled out in his second preseason game. He just looks like a totally different player. But Carter Bradley can't throw a touch. It's laser every time. You got to be able to lay your balls in like Brock Purdy does at an elite level. And Carter Bradley, the son of Gus, Nepo babies, 6 for 14, 32 yards, 1 pick, a passer rating of 20.5. Only quarterback with a lower passer rating in a preseason game since 2015 on 10-plus attempts was Wilton Speight at 17.3 against the Chargers in 2019. Yikes. Tanner Mordecai, not much better. That interception was trash. He tried to be Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. He tried to be a little Brett Favre. He tried to be a little Tony Romo with that spin around in the pocket. He tried to be like Brock Purdy. He's been watching too much Brock Purdy spinning around in the pocket. And if you do that to try to buy time to make a play downfield, hey, sometimes when you're playing recess freestyle ball like that, the defense, after so much time, and the DBs will struggle to just go step for step with the wideout, or they'll lose track of a wideout because it's just a freestyle play. And sometimes, when the quarterback's running around like that, you'll see that. But you can't throw that interception, man. I mean, he just tossed it right to the DB. What are you doing? And so the athleticism, so much better than Carter Bradley. He's so much more mobile. But that was a trash decision. And the quarterback 3, quarterback 4 spots, not in a good spot. San Francisco could be looking at the waiver wire for their third-string quarterback on 53-man roster cutdown day. Amir Abdullah. Look, this guy's been in the league since 2015. I'm not going to knock him. He's been in the league for a decade. But, the Niners are so thin at running back. They just signed Jeff Wilson today. Garendo out. Jordan James out. Christian McCaffrey not playing. And Abdullah last night gets some carries and fumbled on his one carry and then suffered a core injury. So Niners' depth at running back really taking a hit right now. I think Clay Kubiak is a loser here. He called the plays instead of Kyle Shanahan. He's now the offensive coordinator for this team. Used to be the pass game coordinator. After the opening drive, that 50-yard pass from Mack to Watkins, 10 full drives, no points, 4 turnovers, 3 3-and-outs, 2.9 yards per play, 8 first downs. Rough watch. Niners backup offensive lineman, not good. Spencer Burford going up against Nick Bonito. It was an obvious mismatch. Bonito's a really good edge rusher. He's twitchy. He's fast. Burford is not an offensive tackle at the NFL level. He is a guard. The Niners are trying to make him an offensive tackle. He's not fast enough, nor does he have the foot speed to play offensive tackle. Kyle Shanahan can say those 3 plays were unfair to Burford when it looked bad. But a reason why it looked even worse is because he's not fast enough to play tackle. And the Niners continue to ignore and neglect the offensive line and offensive line depth. They're not good enough at starting left guard. They're not good enough at center. They're okay at right tackle. And the backup offensive linemen stink. Look, they used a 3rd-round pick on a kicker for Jake Moody in 2023. They did not draft an offensive lineman until the 7th round back in April when they took Connor Colby. And I thought Connor Colby, Drew Moss, they could be okay players. But not right now. And if you're not good enough along the offensive line, it is going to derail your season. You could get by with average offensive line play against okay teams. But when you go up against great teams and you can't win in the trenches and you get bullied and you get manhandled there, you're going to lose. That's what happened in 2021, NFC title game against the Rams. Happened in 2022 against the Eagles in the NFC title game. Happened in 2023 against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Offensive line play last year, not good enough. And last night, not good enough. And John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, just got to live with it. They continue to ignore it. It's a philosophical thing, and it's unfortunate. Because you compare the Niners in the trenches against the class of the NFL and the defending champions in the Philadelphia Eagles. It is not even close. Jalen Carter against Jake Brendel, yikes. Overall team depth got a little bit exposed last night. Jake Moody didn't get to attempt a single field goal because the offense was so bad. Greg Joseph ain't in camp, so he's not competing with anybody right now, at least as far as a one-on-one, in-person, in-game battle. He needs reps. He needs attempts. The Niners need to see in a live game situation if he can make kicks, and last night didn't attempt a single field goal. And then a sneaky one for me is Thomas Morstead, the new punter. His punts were not good. I mean, lacked length, lacked leg, lacked arc, lacked hang time. He's older. He's been in the league since 2009, I think, when the Saints won the Super Bowl. But Niners let Mitch Wishnowsky go for Morstead, and with Wishnowsky, it could simply be knee injury. Also dealt with back stuff last year, but I just don't know if Morstead's a good enough punter in general. Those punts were not good. So those are my winners and losers. Niners Broncos preseason opener. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. I know it was a long show, but had a lot to say about this Niners team. Be back in the studio tomorrow. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Appreciate all of the support. Enjoy the remaining hours of your weekend. And if you're watching this on Monday, happy Monday. Have a great start to your week. I'm Chase Sr. This is the 49ers Report. Talk to you soon.